coming tonight. Appreciate it. Good to see all of you here, and it's great to be here with Denny and his family, especially on his birthday. Yeah. If we start to go slow in the speech, we'll just spontaneously start to sing happy birthday to Denny if things start to go badly. But I'm really happy to be here. And I spoke to Denny and his family earlier, and I said the reason I asked to come here, I asked to come here and help in this race. And the reason that I did is because of how strongly I feel, not only about Denny, but about his opponent. See, part of what I've been trying to do in the work I'm doing in New Jersey, and not only in New Jersey, but all the traveling I'm doing around the country, is to convince people across this country and all the different states I go to visit that we need to demand a different type of public servant. That we're going to continue to get the government that we have right now if we continue to elect the same type of person. And it seems like a pretty elementary thing to say, but we continue to do it over and over again. You know, we elect people who care more about being loved than they care about being respected. And the way they think to be loved is just to say yes. Say yes to whoever's in front of them. And John Tester is a perfect example of that. Absolutely perfect example of that type of failed public servant. When he comes back here to Montana, he tells you he's an independent voice in Washington, D.C. for every citizen of this state. That he's willing to stand up when it needs to be. People need to stand up in Washington, D.C. And he puts on that flannel shirt, comes on back here, and tries to convince you that he's Montana. Then he goes to Washington, D.C. And when he goes to Washington, D.C., and you look at what he does, he might as well be Harry Reid's butler. Okay? Because that's the way he conducts himself. Yes, sir, Mr. Reid, what can I do for you today? Yes, Senator Reid, what can I do for you next? It seems to me that all he remembers is to call in and check with Harry Reid about what his next vote is supposed to be. And he forgets all about the stuff he comes back here at home and tells you about his independence. And then you talk about a guy who says he's independent, yet he's the #1 recipient of lobbyist money of anybody in the United States Senate. And you cannot call yourself independent when you're the #1 recipient of lobbyist money in the United States Senate. I mean, imagine how high that bar is, right? I mean, you really got to be drowning in lobbyist money to be #1 in the United States Senate. I mean, think about some of the interesting folks who serve in the United States Senate and all the lobbyist money they must take. And I guess I have to give John credit. He must be ambitious. You've got to be ambitious to be #1 in the United States Senate lobbyist money. So I think, you know, in New Jersey, we tend to give people nicknames a lot. That's just kind of the way we are. It's one of our things. It's one of our quirks in New Jersey. Everybody kind of gets a nickname. And I think we've got one for him. Really do. If he's from New Jersey, taking the most lobbyist money anybody in the United States Senate, we would just call him K Street Johnny. That's what we call him. We call him K Street Johnny. Because that's who he is. And don't let him bulldoze you people out here and let you think he's from Montana. He's not from Montana anymore. And we've seen people who this happens to. They get Potomac fever. And they get to Washington, D.C., and they think it's the center of the universe. And what they care much more about is that all those folks on K Street like him. They get invited to all the fancy parties. And they get to take all the lobbyist money. And they forget what we sent them to Washington for in the first place, which was to represent the views and the principles of the people where their home address is. And if there's an example of somebody who's forgotten that, it's your United States Senator. And yet he has the gall, after his lucky win 6 years ago, to come back here, and what he should do after the record he's put together over the last 6 years, he should come back and just say, thank you. thank you so much for giving me a job that I didn't earn and I don't deserve. And thank you for letting me fool you 6 years ago. Because now for the rest of my life, people got to call me Senator. So it's a great gift you gave me. But you know I don't deserve it, I know I don't deserve it, and I know I've done nothing to earn it over the last 6 years. So I'd just like to say thank you, and goodbye. That's what he should do. That's what he should do. That is what he should do if his mind was working in the appropriate way. But instead he's got Potomac fever. And Potomac fever is a disease that doesn't affect the body. It affects the mind and the soul. Potomac fever grips the mind and the soul. It makes the mind believe that whatever happens in Washington, D.C., and whatever the big bosses of Washington, D.C. ask you to do, is the right thing to do. Whatever comes out of Harry Reid's mouth is the right thing to do for Montana. And you all have seen the things that he's done at Harry Reid's request. And you know that that's not what the people of Montana want. And you also watched Denny. And you know that when he's needed to stand up to Republican leadership in Washington, D.C., because what they were asking him to do wasn't right for Montana, you know Denny Reid's not caught up in Potomac fever, because he stood up and he bucked leadership. And he said, no, this isn't right for Montana, I'm not voting that way. It is such a clear contrast to me that that's why I had to come out here and help. Because, let's make it really plain, if I haven't already. Denny Reid is the real deal, and Jon Tester is a phony. I mean, he's just a phony. I mean, it's, you know, you cannot be standing up in front of the people of Montana, people of this state, and vote for the death tax and say you're from Montana. I mean, you just cannot do that with the economy in this state and with the way that tax can tear apart the fabric of families. You can't say you're from Montana and vote for that tax. You've given up your citizenship at that point. You're now a citizen of Washington, D.C. You vote for the death tax for Montana. And you don't belong representing Montana in the United States Senate. And everybody in this state better recognize that in the next 32 days. Because that's one of those votes that you can't finesse. You know, he can give you a million different explanations. I'm sure he's got a bunch of them with the tens of thousands of ads he's run on TV. You know, I thought on my way over here today about a slogan for Jon Tester's campaign. See, Denny doesn't need my help with slogans, but I suspect that Senator Tester needs some help. So I've watched his career in Washington, D.C., and I've watched his campaign so far, and I've come up with a slogan for his campaign. Jon Tester for United States Senate. Do you believe me or your lying eyes? And that's the slogan. That's the slogan for the Jon Tester campaign. Do you believe me or your lying eyes? I'm for Montana and Montana families. But your lying eyes see that he voted for the death tax. I'm an independent voice for Montana. But I listen to everything that my boss, Harry Reid, tells me to do. I stand up for the people of Montana regardless of what the bosses in Washington, D.C. do, but I vote 95% of the time with Barack Obama. I am someone who knows Montana, and Montana knows me. But at the same time, he takes more lobbyist money than any person in the United States Senate. Those aren't Montana values. And so you look at these things sitting side by side to each other, and you know, I'm never the smartest guy in the room. And I'm certainly not the smartest guy in this room tonight. But that's what that slogan means. I mean, he's trying to convince you that everything you've seen him do for the last 6 years, somehow you're mistaken. No, believe me. I'm the guy in the flannel shirt. Believe me, look at me. Watch me fool you one more time. I had a Sicilian mother and an Irish father. My Irish dad is still alive. He's 79 years old. And besides the fact that he gives too many interviews to the media, he's a really nice guy. And I love him. on the other hand, passed away 8 years ago, and she's Sicilian. Now, for those of you in Montana who may not know exactly what the import of having a Sicilian mother is, let me explain it to you. In the great automobile of life, my father was the passenger, my mother was the driver. In our house, my mother was judge, jury, and executioner, and she liked that last role best. She was someone who set the rules, interpreted the rules, enforced the rules, and if you somehow got yourself out of trouble under the rules, would change them to make sure that you were in trouble. Mom did not suffer fools gladly at all, and she never thought she got extra credit just for telling the truth. My mother always taught us that if you had that choice between respect and love, that you always pick respect. She used to say, respect will turn into love. But love without respect is always fleeting. And you know she was telling me about women then, but still it doesn't matter. We can apply it to politics, and do. And if she saw this, Ray, see, I'm talking about this in a way that I understand it because the way I was brought up. It's unacceptable, the way I was brought up, to act one way at home and someplace different when you're away from home. My mother used to tell us we'd go to sleep over a friend's house or take a weekend away. Remember where you're from. Now, we didn't really know what that meant. But we kind of knew it meant that we had to behave. But remember where you're from. She used to say it to us all the time. Remember where you're from. And John Tester fails that test. He doesn't remember where he's from. He's gotten all enamored with the marble buildings, and the bright lights, and the TV cameras, and the lobbyist money, and the embassy parties, all the attention for a boy from Montana. He's lost his way. And see, if he really wants to be from Montana, let's make him spend every day here. Let's make him spend every day here. Let's make him come home, and we'll give him a little refresher course on what it means to be from Montana. See, Denny doesn't need that. Because for the years that Denny's been in Washington, he's never forgotten where home is. He's never forgotten where he's from. And he's conducted himself in public office in a way that has made all of you proud. And so this seems to me to be a pretty easy choice. When you blow away all the smoke, when you just close your eyes mercifully to all the commercials, and you just take a step back and say to yourself, who's more like me? Who's going to really represent me and my family in the United States Senate? It's not even close. I don't blame you all for giving John Tester a chance 6 years ago. He made a very convincing case, and who knew? Who knew he'd become Harry Reid's butler? Who knew? But he did. And he made that choice, everybody. Then he had the same kind of choices to make. He made very different ones. And so now we need to make a decision here in Montana. Are we going to reward bad behavior? Because that's the last thing my mother taught us. We never reward bad behavior, ever. Bad behavior gets bad treatment in return. Good behavior is rewarded. Denny Reid's been a good, solid citizen of this state and an outstanding representative for you in the House of Representatives. And now, he said that he never saw a seat as safe, and that's good, because he always saw it as a special privilege. But let me tell you something. He would have got reelected over and over again to that House seat because of the great job he was doing. You know it and I know it. He doesn't need this. He doesn't need the abuse he's taken on television. He doesn't need the abuse he's taken in the mailbox. He doesn't need it. He's offering it up because he doesn't want to let a phony stay representing Montana in the United States Senate for another day longer than he's done it already. That's courage, everybody. That's courage to walk away from a prestigious position that could be yours for as long as you want it and say, the heck with it, I'm putting it all at risk because the United States Senate is too important to allow a guy who's lost his way, lost his soul to continue to represent you. So, you know, it's up to you now in the last 32 days. You know how hard he's going to work. You know how hard his family's going to work. And, you know, there's a tradition in the Reid family of hard work. And they know what it's all about, to go out and campaign hard. They know how it is to win, they know how it is to lose. And they know that they like winning better than losing. And so they're going to work real hard to make sure that November 6th is a great day. But you know what, all of you have to work harder. See, over the next 32 days, it's great that you came tonight, that you wrote checks and raised checks from other people. And you know that Denny's under siege here with all the lobbyist special interest money coming in from out of state. And so your assistance tonight is really appreciated. He will be a faithful and effective steward of that money. And he'll make sure that it's spent in a way that can communicate his message to the people of Montana. But if you think your job is over tonight, I'm here to deliver the bad news. See, they always let the visitor deliver the bad news. See, I'm not on the ballot, so then he comes up here and Mr. Happy Time. And he sticks me with having to deliver the bad news, but here it is. There's 4 weeks left in this election. And this election is not going to be won on TV. And it's not going to be won in the mailboxes. It's not even going to be won if a warm and charming governor from a northeastern state made a beautiful and loving automated telephone call to Montana, to all of its citizens. It's very effective, but the thing that's more effective is you. It's you. Still the most powerful weapon in American politics is you. So what I want you to think about when you go home tonight, over your weekend, take out your calendar and look at the next 4 weeks and say, how much time each week in the next 4 weeks can I take out of what I normally do to make a day? How much time can I take going through my phone book and getting on the phone and calling all those friends and relatives and business associates and colleagues in my phone book and say to them, you know, I don't know what you're doing in this election, but I know Denny Reid. I've looked him in the eye, I've taken the measure of his character, and I'm not only voting for him, I'm with him, I'm working for him for the next 4 weeks. And that's why I'm calling you. Because if you're undecided, or if God forbid you're going towards the dark side, come back. Listen to me. I've worked on this election. And I'm putting my reputation on the line for Denny Reid. Now, if you do that first with your phone book, I'm telling you, you won't imagine how many votes you're going to get for him. Because lots of folks in Montana and all across the country, they want to make a responsible decision on how to vote. A lot of them just don't have the time and haven't made the time like you've made to be involved. And they don't want to vote irresponsibly. But if they don't have someone come and help them, who's working on it, who's informed, they may just do what they did last time. Oh yeah, we know test. Okay, we'll go around. You don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. Then I need you to go out with the rest of the time you're going to dedicate and talk to everybody you can talk to. Whether it's at the football field on Friday night or the soccer field on Saturday afternoon, whether it's in the church parking lot on Sunday, whether it's in the supermarket checkout line on Monday. Wherever it is that you go and you're spending your time and you run into folks that you know, I tell you, what you should say to them is, listen, by the way, this election coming up, Denny Reid, he's the right guy. I know you know both of them. So do I. He's the right guy and I'm working for him. And I hope that you'll consider voting for him. It's powerful when you do that. It really is, because it's not a TV ad that they don't know whether to believe or not. It's not a piece of mail they don't know whether to believe or not. It's not something out of the media that they don't know whether to believe or not. It's a neighbor, a friend, who had the courage to take a moment to say, I'm committed. I've made up my mind. I know who I believe in, and I believe in him. That's powerful. It's really powerful. And so, he wouldn't ask you to do this after you've done so much already. So he needs the big mouth from New Jersey to come and do it for him. So I'm here to ask you to do it. Because you don't want to wake up on November 7th and see that Denny lost by just this much. And think to yourself, back to this night, say, man, he was right. If I'd done a little bit more, I could have made the difference. Now we're stuck with Harry Reid's butler for the next 6 years. That'll be 12 years of Harry Reid's butler. I blew it. You don't want to wake up that morning and think that. You really don't. You'll feel badly about it. But worse than that, Montana will be ill-served, as they've been ill-served for the last 6 years. So you don't want to do that. So don't have regrets. Don't have second thoughts. Stand up in the next 4 weeks and have your voice be heard. Beyond this room. Because right now we're preaching to the choir. And that's good to preach to the choir. I heard a Lutheran minister say this one time. Because I never knew what preaching to the choir meant. Always thought it was bad, right? Like a waste of time. I just preaching to the choir. I heard a Lutheran minister one time give a great sermon where he said, yep, I preach to the choir, I plead guilty. I preach to the choir every Sunday. He said, I preach to the choir so they'll sing. I said, yeah, now I finally get it. So I know I'm preaching to the choir tonight, everybody, but I'm preaching to the choir so you'll sing. So you'll sing to those family and friends. So you'll sing to those neighbors and co-workers. So you'll sing to those clients and to those acquaintances that you meet at all those other places I mentioned. So you'll sing. You need to add your voice to his. His voice is strong and resolute, but it is not strong and resolute enough to get to every Montanan he needs to get to. He needs you. And so you're here tonight for him, and I thank you for it, but I need you to be back. I need you to be back over the next 4 weeks. Go home, figure out how many hours you're going to give. You need to do it. And it won't hurt, I promise. It won't be so bad. Once you do it, you'll start to feel better and better about it every time you do it. And you'll be shocked, I guarantee you'll be shocked by the great reaction you get. People won't be offended, they'll be relieved that somebody they actually know and trust is looking them in the eye and telling them the real deal. Then they can just turn off the television. Not have to worry about these ads anymore. They'll say, I heard from my friend, I don't need to even look at this stuff anymore. I know what I'm doing, I'm voting for Denny Reid. I'm sending him to the United States Senate. He did a great job for us in the House, he's going to do an even better job in the Senate. So, one last warning. I'm going to be watching. Now, November 6th is going to come, and I'm going to be in New Jersey on November 6th. I'm going to be sitting in the governor's residence. I'm going to be watching the election returns. And I'm going to be up late, because I'm just one of those junkies. I got to see all the returns and see what happens. And those returns from North Dakota are going to start coming in. And I'm going to see what happened. Now, I've been back to North Dakota. I'll be there tomorrow. Here in Montana today. And I'm going to be looking for what those returns look like. Now, if it turns out that all you people let me down, if it turns out that you didn't do the job you were supposed to do, I'm going to call Denny and check in. Say, Denny, all those people, we got their names. We know where they live, don't we, Denny? They do those hours in those 4 weeks. And if Denny's on the other end of the phone saying to me, some of them did, but some didn't, then I'm going to have to come back. And when I come back, I'm not going to be in such a good mood. See, today I'm in a great mood. Had a great time in Montana today. But if I come back in a bad mood, things are going to get ugly, everybody. We don't want that. We don't want that. You don't want me and Denny on a tear coming back here going, where are you and where were your phone books? Was it used or wasn't it? You don't want us asking that question. Because you don't want to be asking that question to yourself. It's a good and decent man who deserves your support. And you know what the great day is going to be? Great day is going to be in January next year. When you all, some of you may even travel there. But for those of you who don't, you'll be watching on television. And you'll see him walk down on the floor of the United States Senate like so many other great Americans have done over the first 2 and almost half centuries of our country's history. Great men and women who are to deliberate on the greatest and most important issues of our time have stood in the United States Senate. He's going to join those people. And think about what an amazing feeling it's going to be to have been a member of his team, to know that you helped to change history, that you, through your actions, helped to change the course of history in our country. Because you don't think our country will be different with Denny Reid in the Senate than with John Tester, and you stop paying attention. You can be a part of the group that changes history. And I hope you choose to undertake that task. Because if you do, when you're watching that day, and you see him go down that floor with his family, and he puts his hand on the Bible and he raises his right hand to take the oath as Montana's next United States Senator, you're going to feel an incredible sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. That Montana's well represented once again, and that you were part of it. It's an amazing opportunity. Please don't let it slip by. Please don't let it slip by. So thanks for being so nice. Everybody's been so warm and welcoming to me. And all day in Montana today, I was over in Bozeman earlier today for Rick Hill, your Republican candidate for governor. Everybody in Bozeman was really wonderful. And now here in Billings today, everyone's been great. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate the warm welcome. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to you, and I appreciate you so politely listening to me. And I hope that what I've said rings true with you. Because if it does, we're going to have a great celebration on November 6th, an even greater celebration the first week of January of 2013. When that Senate seat is returned to someone who really does understand Montana values and who really does remember where he came from. So thank you all very much.